Have you ever looked at an old map and noticed something missing? A whole country, just gone. It might sound like a fantasy story, but this actually happened to Poland. For 123 years, from 1795 to 1918, Poland vanished from the map of Europe, carved up and swallowed by three powerful neighbors: Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Imagine your country, your home, suddenly ceasing to exist on paper. This wasn't just a political change. It was a deliberate attempt to erase an entire culture. The invading powers launched policies of denationalisation. In some regions, speaking Polish was banned in schools and public offices. The goal was simple: make Polish people forget they were Polish. Turn them into loyal Russian, Prussian, or Austrian subjects. A huge number of Poland's brightest minds, its writers, artists, and leaders were forced into exile, scattering across the globe. Others who stayed behind had to retreat from public life, their voices silenced. It seemed like the story of Poland was over. But here's the thing about national identity. You can't just erase it, even without a country to call their own. The idea of Poland burned brighter than ever in the hearts of its people. They refused to let their culture die. This wasn't a passive acceptance of fate. It was the beginning of one of the most remarkable stories of national survival in history. The fight for Poland wasn't just fought on battlefields. It was fought in secret classrooms, in whispered poems, and in the unwavering spirit of the people who refused to be forgotten. The first glimmers of hope appeared alongside Napoleon Bonaparte. As his armies marched across Europe, Polish legions were formed to fight with him. They believed that by helping Napoleon, they could win back their own freedom. For a brief moment, a small Polish state, the Duchy of Warsaw, was reestablished. It was a taste of the independence they so desperately craved. But Napoleon's ultimate defeat at Waterloo meant the end of this dream. And at the Congress of Vienna in 1815, the European powers once again confirmed the partition of Poland. The duchy was dissolved, and Poland was redivided. Hope seemed lost again. But the Polish spirit is stubborn. If diplomacy and fighting alongside foreign armies wouldn't work, they would have to rely on themselves. Secret organizations and clandestine groups began to form. The desire for freedom simmered beneath the surface, waiting for a chance to boil over. That chance came in 1830 with the November Uprising. It started with a group of young officer cadets in Warsaw who bravely rose up against Russian rule. For nearly a year, the Polish army fought a desperate war against the might of the Russian Empire. They fought with incredible courage, but the odds were insurmountable. The uprising was eventually crushed, and the aftermath was brutal. The autonomy that parts of Poland had retained was stripped away, and Russian control became even tighter. Thousands were executed, imprisoned, or sent into the freezing depths of Siberia. The great wave of exiles that followed this defeat is known in Polish history as the Great Immigration. Yet, even in the face of such a devastating loss, the Poles did not give up. The spirit of resistance simply went deeper underground. When a wave of revolution swept across Europe in 1848, known as the Spring of Nations, Poles once again joined the fight. They fought not just for their own freedom, but for the freedom of other oppressed nations. Believing in the motto "for our freedom and yours," they participated in uprisings in Prussia, Austria, and Hungary. But once again, these efforts were ultimately unsuccessful. The old empires held firm, and the dream of a free Poland remained just that, a dream. The final, tragic attempt at armed rebellion was the January Uprising of 1863. This was different from the previous ones. It wasn't a war fought by a regular army, but a guerrilla conflict. Small bands of partisans, armed with little more than farm tools and hunting rifles, waged a hit-and-run war against the massive Russian army for over a year and a half. They fought in the forests and fields, a ghost army representing an invisible nation. The struggle was heroic, but the outcome was heartbreakingly predictable. The Russians responded with overwhelming force and merciless cruelty. Entire villages were burned. Public executions became commonplace, and tens of thousands were exiled to Siberia. The January Uprising was Strang-led, and with it, the era of romantic, armed insurrections came to a bloody end. After the crushing defeat of the January Uprising, a profound shift occurred in Polish thinking. The cost of armed struggle had been too high, the losses too devastating. A new generation of activists realized that swords and guns were not the only weapons. If they couldn't win back Poland on the battlefield, they would have to win it back in the minds and hearts of the people. This new strategy was called organic work. It was a focus on strengthening the nation from the grassroots up. Instead of grand rebellions, the focus turned to everyday resistance. The idea was to build a strong, educated, and economically sound Polish society that could survive and thrive, even under foreign rule. This meant creating unofficial education networks. Secret schools were organized in private homes to teach children Polish language, literature, and history subjects forbidden by the authorities. These flying universities were often taught by women, who played a crucial role in preserving the national culture. It was a quiet, patient form of defiance. They also focused on economic development, encouraging Poles to start their own businesses, banks, and agricultural cooperatives to become economically independent from their occupiers. They fostered social reforms, working to improve the lives of peasants and workers, believing that a unified and modern nation would be a stronger one. While this grassroots work was happening, Polish politicians and intellectuals didn't abandon the international stage. They continued to advocate for the Polish case in the courts of Europe. Whenever the partitioning powers Russia, Prussia, and Austria found themselves in conflict with other nations, Polish representatives were there, reminding the world of the injustice that had been done. They kept the memory of Poland alive, ensuring that the world didn't forget the nation that had been wiped off the map. This combination of internal cultural preservation and external political advocacy created a nation in waiting. They couldn't have a state, but they could be a nation unified, educated, and ready. For decades, this patient work continued. Generations were born and grew up in a world without a country named Poland on the map, yet they know deeply and unshakably that they were Polish. They were waiting for their moment, for the geopolitical landscape to shift, for the empires that held them captive to finally weaken. And in 1914, that moment arrived. The First World War erupted, and crucially, all three partitioning powers found themselves on opposing sides. Russia was fighting against Germany, which Prussia had become, and the enemies of Poland were now enemies of each other. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for over a century. Poles fought on all sides of the war, often tragically forced to fight against each other. But Polish leaders, like the brilliant military strategist Józef Pilsudski, skillfully navigated the chaos. They formed Polish legions once again, playing the warring empires against each other, all with one singular goal in mind: an independent Poland. As the war raged on and the old empires began to crumble under the strain, the Polish cause gained international support. U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, in his famous 14-point speech, explicitly called for the creation of an independent Polish state. The dream was becoming a reality. Finally, on November 11th, 1918, as the armistice was signed, ending World War I, Poland was officially reborn. After 123 years of struggle, sacrifice, and unbreakable hope, Poland was back on the map of Europe. It is a powerful reminder that a nation is more than just lines on a map or a government. It's a shared language, a common history, and a spirit that can endure even the darkest of times. The story of Poland's disappearance and reappearance is a testament to the power of cultural resilience and the enduring human desire for freedom. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this piece of history as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the crossroads of culture and history. See you in the next one.